collaboration with UNICEF, JoyNews is spending some time with the Minister for Gender, Children and Social Protection, Otiku Afisa Jaba, to have a conversation about where are we, where do we go from here, how do we deal with the canker of poverty. You're welcome, ma'am.
Thank you.
Let me start by asking you whether we know of any available statistics, because it is said that if you know the problem, then you can deal with it and deal with it decisively. What do we know about the available statistics on the poverty gap in Ghana at the moment?
Thank you very much. And before I answer that, I would like to wish all the people in Ghana that in terms of the fact that poverty is not a happy place to be. So I cannot say happy poverty day, no, but it is a day of hope, because we are marking the moving away from poverty, eradicating it. That's the #1 sustainable development goal. And also zero hunger. Ghana has signed on since 2015 to the Sustainable Development Goals, and that by 2030 we should achieve the 17 goals. And then for the AU, we've also moved it to 2063.
Speaking about the development goals, by the way, just so you don't find it so boring, here is a very beautiful football that puts it right here at #1. And #2 is somewhere around this ball, that's removing hunger or eradicating hunger. And when you put those two together, you know that they're a pair. Okay, so we can move on from there.
So the Ghana Poverty and Inequality Report, it confirms that between 1992 and 2030, Ghana's national level of poverty, it fell by half, from 56.5% to 24.2%. Therefore, the Millennium Development Goal 1, the target, was achieved. Even though, as we speak, by the World Bank report of 2013, 10.7% of world's population live on less than $1.9 a day, compared to 12.4% in 2012. It's dynamic in terms of poverty. You can be poor today, rich tomorrow. You can be rich today and poor tomorrow. And the different issues that make it more difficult for it to be sustained is the lack of education, especially in Africa. And so, with the free SHS,
very welcome back to the Super Morning Show on Joy 99.7 FM.
And our president at the
we're
UN
live
made this,
on the Joy News channel,
about the free SHS,
and of course we're coming to you from a location here now.
And persons of vulnerable persons. And we have put in place various policies, like the social protection policy. We are working on the affirmative action bill. I'll talk about it later.
And I want us to actually list the social interventions that you have on board, and exactly practically, because we hear a lot of English, and some people are really tired of hearing English. They're really tired of hearing about policies. People want to hear the things that they can relate to directly and ask themselves how they can remove that little boy on the streets, how they can remove that guy. So I'd like for you to list those things for me. But speaking of the the MDGs and the fact that we're able to achieve the MDG goal 1 of halving poverty, it also says that away from what, in that time, in that year, if you took 2 Ghanaians, one of them was bound to be poor. At this time, we're looking at 4, so that looks like a good thing. But we still know that there's still a huge gap between the haves and the have-nots. So the person who is rich is extremely rich, per our standards, by the way, and the person who is poor is extremely poor. Then let's come to the interventions. What are we doing?
Poverty is not for any Ghanaian, and we need every Ghanaian to believe in himself or herself, believe that Ghana is the best place on earth. We have challenges, but we are working on them. That is what our president means by believe in Ghana, breathe Ghana, eat Ghana, wear Ghana. Be proud to be a Ghanaian. And poverty is not constant. Perhaps through education, definitely through education and the free HSS, will leap out of
Sounds like
poverty.
a long-term solution.
It's not a long-term, because immediately, if you are on the street and you got into SHS, you are off the street. If you are a child of school-going age, per the Children's Act, and I would like to say this before I continue, that having the policy is the beginning. You need a national policy.
Something that guides
all of us and affects all of us.
Right.
So they have a very critical role to play, and Ghana has a lot of policies. But the implementation and the enforcement is what we are now privileged to have the opportunity to embark on.
Okay.
And the Operation Get Off the Street initiative that we are starting.
Which operation is that?
It is an operation that we are going to be launching in November.
Okay.
We are starting with mapping all the various people on the streets, like hawkers, like the kayaye, like the beggars, like the destitute, people who are mental, anybody on the street, because the street is nowhere to live or to sell.
So you want to clear these people off the street?
We want to clear people off the streets. It cannot happen overnight.
Right. If I can recall, I think your predecessor, Nana Yulith, had started something like
that.
I don't know. Was it sustainable?
From streets to school.
Was it
a pilot. No, it was a pilot.
It didn't work?
It worked. It was very successful.
So those people that they took off the streets are in school now?
Yes. It's based on that pilot that we are now expanding it nationwide. That anybody who is on the street should get off. If you are of school-going age, we need to get you into school. And you know, when people get used to making money, you can't just move them away. So we are organizing sensitization programs when we finish with the mapping. And then we get some shelters where we can do counseling, how we can reintegrate them with their families. Some of them run away from home. Then the hawkers who are above 18, some are selling plantain chips. We can give them the training and startups with the LEAP, the new LEAP, so that they also will have a business. With the one district, one factory, they can also get involved in some of these activities.
And you say this is not long-term?
No, it's not long-term.
How short-term is it?
Because we trained my predecessor, 400 Kayaye. Some of them, we've been able to get the fast food joints to engage them. We did a diaspora program where they make beads, jewelry. They make basketry. I'll show you, there's a basket here. And they are selling them. So it's giving them some money. They know exactly what they want. Persons who are vulnerable, persons who are disabled, they are all part of this program. So the leap is to actually leap people out of poverty. An accident can make you poor because you might lose your parents or a limb or both limbs, and it will be difficult for you to be productive. But we have programs that will sensitize people, give them the skills training and the startup. The Youth Employment Authority are also there. Recently, the Ministry of Roads engaged 70,000 persons with disability as operators of the toll booths. So there are all sorts of interventions that the government is bringing on board, the planting for food, the free fertilizer. These are all social interventions, capitation grant, national health insurance, alawa has been paid, you know. So things, it's not long term. We have a short term program, medium term, and a long term. We have a sustainable program in place to eradicate poverty. And we are very strategic about it.
Do you want to give me any examples of your very short term interventions?
Very short-term intervention is one that I've mentioned about
the off the streets
program.
Operation Off the Streets.
Exactly.
Thing.
Also, we are having a girls leadership initiative. It's a mentoring program that we are identifying young girls so that we form girls leadership clubs, identify them from day nursery about how to be a leader as you grow up. And then we are also re-looking at the affirmative action bill because when governments change, you have to review it. They elapse. The bills that did not go to Parliament, they elapse. And so that will also be going to the Attorney General's office and then to Cabinet and then to Parliament. That will happen this year. School feeding is going on. And so it is reducing poverty. And you know, with the free SHS, more children are in school who will be eating in school. So hunger will also be reducing. We are insisting, and that is a policy from Cabinet, that we use made in Ghana food, homegrown food, working with the buffer stock, identifying our farmers so that we can buy from them. And then the women too will be cooking. we've made sure that we have more women as caterers. And then the children too will go to school. When they eat, they'll be more, they'll be stronger in terms of health. Right. Their cognitive skills will open up, and then they'll be in school and stay in school. Okay. So those are short-term measures.
For 65-year-old Atipoka Ayo, every single day comes with a battle to survive. She looks too active for someone her age, but this is who she must be if she wants to put food on the table. Atipoka lives in this old madhouse at Anatim in the outskirts of Bolgatanga here in the Upper East region. She lost her husband more than 10 years ago. Before then, her 6 children had died before their 10th birthday.
My first 2 children died shortly after birth. The 3rd child died in my womb before he was taken out. After that, I had twins, a boy and a girl. The girl later died, leaving behind the boy who became a shepherd and looked after his father's sheep. There is a dam not too far away from here. One day, while herding the sheep, the boy went for a swim in the dam and drowned in the process. I had another child after that, but that one too died while he was still crawling.
She recalls that despite the sorrows, she and her husband were generally happy. They worked together on their farms to fend for themselves, and she never had to worry about poverty or hunger. Things, however, took a turn for the worst after Atipoka's husband also died, and her brother-in-law accused her of using witchcraft to kill her children and husband.
My brother-in-law would sometimes call me a cannibal who ate up my entire family spiritually. He would go on to tell me to leave this house because he was not going to allow me to kill him as well. Anytime he did this, I would put my hands on my head and wail and wail. Then he would make mockery of me. He did this for a long time, and one day he disappeared from this house. For 2 years now, we have not seen him. His children live here with me.
Is that like a dedication to me?
With no one to help her, Atipoka now engages in different kinds of petty trades to fend for herself and her 2 nieces who live with her. Just about enough for the next one.
From these streets, I managed to buy food for us. As for clothing, I don't even talk about it. I have one skirt and a blouse, which I have used for the past 5 years, and I have no cloth to wrap myself with. So just imagine that, using the same clothes for 5 years. Sometimes, I don't even want to go to church because I feel like an outcast among the congregation. But the pastor has spoken to me against having such thoughts, so I keep going to church each time in these same clothes.
The Widows and Orphans Movement, a women empowerment organization, has been helping Atipoka and many other women in similar situations. They helped Atipoka to learn a trade in basket weaving and give her some aid once a while. Atipoka tells me, but for the intervention of the Widows and Orphans Movement, she would have been homeless or even dead, because this house, which she lives in now, once got ripped apart by a storm and she was left with no roof over her head.
All my rooms were destroyed. In those days, anytime it threatened to rain, I'd run to that nearby house for shelter. It continued like that until a friend introduced me to the madam at the Widows and Orphans movement. Then she sent people to come and fix 2 rooms for me.
Atipoka says she would appreciate help if it comes, but for her, asking for more help will amount to pushing her luck because her situation before now was far worse off. She puts the amount of money she and her nieces live on at an estimated 4 Ghana cedis a day. She is unaware of any government interventions for people like her. Nonetheless, she has resolved to be content with her current financial situation. For her, she must crawl her way to survival 1 step at a time, every single day. Reporting for Joy News, Albert Sorry, and a team, Bolgatanga.
Tulaku is a gateway to Ashama. Wherever you come from Accra, from Tema, from wherever you come, you pass through Tulaku. And Tulaku faces the ceremonial motorway. And he said, and I saw a disgrace to Ashama and the landowners.
We have got people who are ready to do petty trading. So if these loans are given to them for a little interest, I think they will be able to cope with the situation.
We'll be happy, we'll be glad if authorities or the government in power now will come to our aid and make a policy that, no, Tulaku is near the Tamamoto Way. The area must be demarcated and developed. We shall be happy, very, very happy.
Answering the call of October 17 to end poverty, a pathway to a peaceful and inclusive societies. This is the theme on which this year's International Day for the Eradication of Poverty is being marked.
It's very difficult, but I am only managing. By the grace of God, I'm managing. I thank God my boy is in his last form. I've paid his school fees. I've paid his WASI registration money and what have you. So I'm now a bit okay, but I'm left with the daily aspect of a parent. When school is on a session, then I become hot.
Especially like they're on vacation.
Then I'm on pension now. That is what is adjusting me to manage my family. Otherwise, I don't know what I will do. I'm an industrial mechanic, but I have not gone to practice what I learned. I'm now stick to my father's school for all these years.
63-year-old Emmanuel Zonya has lived in Tulaku all his life. He is the owner and proprietor of the Modern Age Institute, formerly the National Primary School at Tulaku, a suburb of Ashaiman in Accra. This is the school most children in this community receive early childhood education. For Mr. Zonya, life in Tulaku is certainly not normal.
Nothing is being done about our situation here. Our main problem is demarcation, and then they give us the go-ahead to put up permanent structures, and then we will live as normal human beings. Sanitation, what have you? No.
Homes, largely made of wooden structures, are the shelters of residents of Tulaku. The men in the slum are best described as hustlers, while the women engage in tabletop and mini-shop trading. The youth, both boys and girls, are often on the streets, hawking all manner of items, including sachet water.
Some deal in Fula and Nono. Some sell Guru. Only few go out to work somewhere. Some few go to the harbor, not as a worker, but to go and walk around to see whether they can get some job the afiwolos. Some rare animals, not outside but in the house. Some sleep with the animals in the house. Yeah, I must be frank, but recently the assembly is trying to get them in a confined place near the pylons.
Assemblyman for the area, Yakubu Amadu, says those perceived as well-to-do in the community are the individuals who operate their private shops and public places of convenience.
Some are selling provisions to earn a living. Some have put up toilet facilities and they are taking care of it. Some too are owning a shower and then they have got standpipe where people come to patronize. I think those are the people I think are better off in terms of livelihood.
Life in Tulaku is survival for the fittest. Access to decent accommodation, basic social amenities, and good sanitation facilities has become their major headache.
Most of them are not educated. Most of them too migrate from their villages and then they find themselves here in the area. You'll be surprised, a single room, more than 10 people occupy a single room for the night. They are crowded in the room.
Those people who have got families, some have been laid off from work and now they are jobless. They don't know what to do to earn a living. Their wives too don't work. They are already housewives and they need financial support. But because he's no more working, he's with the husband, because the husband is no more working and the wife too is already a housewife, there's nothing to live on.
We have water distributed all around, but it's difficult to tap water into our homes. I recently applied for water to come to my house. The estimate they gave me was almost 10 million or 1,000. A poor resident in Tulaku, where am I going to get that money to draw clean water to my house?
As the world marks the International Day for the Eradication of Poverty, communities such as Tulaku can only become inclusive after their call for a decent, permanent place of abode, better economic conditions, and sanitation challenges, among others, are heeded too. My name is Emefa Ewenam Atiamwa Eli for JoyNews, Accra.